Okay, Raspberry Pi, Model B, not the B plus, but the one prior to that. Anyway, um, the Raspberry Pi Model B is actually pretty cool, but the thing is that you'll end up spending a lot of time reflashing, and if you don't want to do that, then hopefully this will help. And what I'll do is I will leave some information in the comment area and give you data, information, links, whatever I happen to put there. But anyway, notice that there's no stress on the CPU. It pretty much teeters right around there the whole time. And that's only unless I'm running an app. Now, these guys are limited. You really can't put a whole lot on them. They do really well with the software that's already pre-installed with the Raspbian OS, with the most recent one that is, and you can get that off of the net. Don't need a link. It's all free, open source, and somebody on the internet had mentioned that there's no GUI based MP3 player. That's not true. The Audacious has two different types of an interface, and I believe the first one is Python, and this one is obviously a Qt, QuickTime interface. But they both run smooth. Resource is very not too heavy unless you're using a visualization. Now, there's two of them that don't. I can't think of what they are off the top of my head. Doesn't really matter. You'll figure that out because there's only four of them. But you can install it and it won't cause any problems. Now, one of the things I've discovered with the Raspbian is this: when you're using the Synaptic APT installer, which is what they have now, I'm not real familiar with anything prior to this because I kind of just delved right into it, dove in head first, and had no idea what I was getting into, but hey, it was worth it. But anyway, I obviously like to set mine up to look like Windows, and what we're talking about here is this right there, your add and remove software. From what my understanding is, that's a separate app that they developed just recently for the platform, the APT, and that's what actually installs it. If you're using your terminal, and you still can, your sudo space apt hyphen get space install, and then whatever the name of the application is. And I've found that you can actually look up the name of the app using this and then install it using the terminal instead of this. But one of the benefits of this is you don't have to use the terminal. Now, the thing is that I've discovered that apps that are extremely resource heavy will actually lock up the system in such a fashion to where you will no longer be able to install from this thing. And that right there will give you a cue that if you've installed something recently and you're no longer able to install using this guy, that, or girl, whatever, but that is your indication that tells you that that recent application that you installed isn't really compatible with the system. So use that as a pre-warning. But other than that, I'll try to post further on this to see what else comes out of it. But thus far, I've been able to get GIMP to run on it just fine. The OpenOffice that's already pre-installed, everything runs on that just fine. Inkscape, if you're into vector imaging like I am, that actually works pretty well. They're very limited. There's some photo conversion utilities that all of them work well, and that's handy, especially if you're a photographer like I am, and you can actually do your work on the fly. What I'll be doing with this is I'll be adding a built-in battery to it so I can take it with me instead of having to have it plugged in all the time. But as it is, with the 7-inch 10-point capacitive touch screen that's on this, which is extremely high, and unnecessary, but hey, it's worth it really, because your fingers are pretty big, just like on a phone. And to have a touch screen, you do want something sensitive that's going to actually be there, and you have to learn where the center of your finger is. But if you use a stylus, it works really good. And even with your finger, it works really well. Other than that, you do have to do some tweaks if you do get one of these screens. I'll see about leaving information in the comments about that, because there are some tweaks that you do have to do. Number one, as far as I know, from what I could tell, when you get one of these and you connect it up out of the box, it will come out upside down, and you don't want that. So you have to change the boot config just a little bit, and then the real estate on the screen, for whatever reason, it's locked down at 800 by 600, and there's no in between, so you can't really get the full screen ratio out of it, which is like 740 by whatever, 6 something. But I've been able to get 1216 or something odd like that by 640 or whatever the screen ratio translation is. But that actually does get you the real estate back that you need, because if for example, if you opened up your Chromium browser, and from the get-go without making that change, it would actually not be on the screen properly. When you open up applications to do an install or something like that, the bottom where the OK is completely locked out, because of the top of the GUI on that is blocked off. You can't raise it up far enough in order to reach the bottom, which you actually can, and you just have to kind of squeeze it real good, and you can get away with it, but that gets really annoying. So I'll do whatever I can to improve upon that and share that also. But one of the things is I went all over the internet, and people are really coveted about not wanting to share information on how they're doing it, so they kind of just link you off to somebody else's article in a forum or something like that, and just say, oh, we'll go from here. I'm not like that. I want people to be able to see something and to know how to do it, and not to have any issues like I did. So if anyone has issues or whatever, or wants to see something else because they're working on the same thing, and have a feeling I might come across that, or just are having problems, period, I'm pretty resourceful. So just hit me up, let me know. Other than that, just keep an eye out, and I'll do whatever I can about sharing. Alright, later.